Hello everyone, my name is LaChon with Power Life Hypnosis. In this video, we're going to talk about the signs of a narcissist. And I'm talking about this with you all because many of us have dated narcissists. Many of us know someone who has dated a narcissist. Many of us know someone who's dating a narcissist right now. So this is a very important subject. And what I have found was the best way to avoid falling for these types of people is to know the signs beforehand. If I knew the signs beforehand, I never would have dated narcissists in the past, the sociopaths in the past. If you know the signs, you can avoid dating a narcissist. So what are the signs? So when it comes to dating narcissists, what I have found was the first thing is they are very, very charming. They are very, very flattering to you as well. They also come across very kind. They come across like they can be your best friend. If they are coming across as kind for romantic reasons, they're going to come across like the perfect partner. So for example, they'll say, oh, what do you want to do? Like, what's your reason for being here? And you say, I want to get married and have kids. They're going to be like, oh, that's exactly what I want to do. Or they may ask you the same question. You say, oh, I just want to be a companion to somebody. Oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. So they also, so they try to make you feel comfortable with them. And another thing that they do, and this is very important, narcissists, they tend to, before they even approach you, they will ask your friends, or they will go on your social media, or they will find out somehow more about you. It's kind of like an interview. And they do an interview about you so they can tell if you are the type of person who they can manipulate, who would fall for them. So again, they're going to look up who you are, and they also want to know more about your likes and dislikes. So when they do approach you, they're going to already know what you like, and they can better build rapport with you because you're going to feel safe and comfortable with them because, again, they have a lot of the same interests. So they can see on your Facebook you like a certain type of music. They're like, oh, I like that music too. You could say you play a certain instrument. Oh, I play that too. A certain type of ice cream. Oh, I like that too. So they try to come across as though you guys are very similar. Another thing that they do is they make early declarations of love or a spiritual connection. So too early, they may start saying, I love you, and it may be more soon than you're comfortable. And they may try to push it upon you. I've had that happen to me where I've had narcissists and sociopath push love upon me, and they would say, I love you. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Thank you. I love you. Okay, I'm fond of you too. And then they would get upset that I wouldn't say that I loved them because I didn't, but after they kept pushing and because I didn't know any better at that time also, eventually I ended up saying I love you, and then, they're like, okay, yes, I got her in my grasp. So again, another thing that they do is they make early declarations of soulmates because they want to kind of create the aura of this is something very special. This is kind of a once in a lifetime type of thing. So they want you to become even more attached and connected to them. So what they end up doing in the beginning is, again, they're very charming, they're very kind, and they try to monopolize your time. So they're always trying to be on the phone with you, or they're always at your house. They also try to learn your patterns, learn, your habits, so they can kind of track you. So they may spend a lot of time around you. So again, they can find out your schedule. They may try to, go to your work, go to your job, and that's so they can know, where you work and all these kinds of things. So that's one thing that they do. So after they do all these things, they charm you, they create this bond with you, they flatter you, and it's usually like empty compliments. Like they're not genuine compliments. It's just like, oh, I like your hair, you're pretty. It's like they just give these like kind of, lame compliments that aren't really coming from the heart. It's just, I want to flatter you kind of thing. And again, they like to spend all their time around you. And another thing that they do is they will mirror back to you your own facial expressions, your own way that you move. They mirror back to you yourself, because it makes you feel more comfortable with them. After all these things happen, and you end up forming this bond, this connection with them, when they realize that they have you in, their clutch, what they'll do is they'll snatch you off the pedestal. They'll take you off the pedestal, and that means that they usually disappear. So where at one point they were always there, they were saying that they love you, and they do this so you can get dependent on their affection. So you can get dependent on their love. They're always going to text you good morning, they're going to text you good night. They're going to make you feel like you're the best person in the world because, again, they want you dependent on them. Another thing that they will do is they will compare you to their exes. They will talk very negatively about their past relationships, and they will say, oh, this is why you're different. They will say, oh, I had a girlfriend, or I had a boyfriend who, actually, I'm not really sure about women narcissists. I've had a couple friends, and we've had like a, empty friendship, but I know that this can be men or women. I believe women just use their bodies and sexuality more to bring in a man, but I'm talking about the perspective of coming from a woman dating a man. They will say, I had a girlfriend who did this, who did XYZ, and I broke up with her. For example, one person that I dated, a narcissist, was really into paper towels, like really, really into paper towels. It was weird, really into paper towels. And on our first date, he's like, oh, I had a girlfriend who didn't like my paper towels, so I broke up with her. And really, that is a tactic, and it is saying, subconsciously that if you do this, I will break up with you. So as a person receiving that message, they think, oh, I can't do that, because if I do, they're going to break up with me. So that's another thing that they do. After they have you in their clutches, they end up taking you off the pedestal, and they kind of go ghost on you. And for the person who is on the other side of that, for the narcissistic supply, they call it supply because narcissists and whoever they're with are codependent. And a lot of people are like, oh, narcissists aren't codependent. Yes, they are, because they're dependent on that person's affection. They're dependent on that person's attention because they just want, attention, and they are dependent on, hurting that person and seeing that person's response and all that. Narcissists and empaths go together very often because a narcissist needs attention, and an empath likes to give. So it's a take from the narcissist and a give from the empath. So the narcissist will just go ghost and will disappear, and they will not call, not text. And this is after they had been calling, they had been texting, they had been in your life. And when they're gone, you're just like, what is going on? So the purpose of that is they want to trigger your fear of abandonment. That's the reason why they do that, to trigger your fear of abandonment. So in that meantime, because you were so dependent on them, you're like, oh my gosh, where are they? Oh my gosh, I need them. Oh my gosh, I want them. Like, I need them to come back. And I've seen situations where people that I know who have gone through that were very, very upset. Even that's what happened to me. Very, very upset. And it was, very difficult because we're like, oh, I miss that person. Oh, I love them, when we're not realizing exactly what is going on. Because these people are so manipulative. But here's the unfortunate thing about it. They are covert manipulate. There's covert manipulation. They are covert when it comes to that. So they manipulate in a way that you think it's you. It's like you think it's you that's doing these actions. You think it's you that's creating these situations. You don't know that it's them. And that's even more dangerous because it makes us feel even worse. Right? And it makes them look even better because it's covert. So after they disappear in whatever amount of time, they end up coming back, and they come back like the knight in shining armor. They come back like the knight in shining armor, and you feel good, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's great. And another thing about this is narcissists and sociopaths tend to do that a lot. They tend to disappear, not want to talk to you for a few days, and they come back, and then they leave, and then they come back. And the reason for this is that is playing with your brain chemistry. So when you receive all that affection attention from a narcissist, the dopamine in your brain, which is the pleasure neurotransmitter, the dopamine in your brain is just shooting off, shooting off, shooting off. When you get the compliments, when you're flattered, your dopamine is just shooting, right? It's just going. And then when they withdraw, you have a deficiency in that dopamine. So it's not producing as much dopamine as it was before. So when they come back, it creates another surge of dopamine. When they leave, you know, it lessens. So it's kind of like a cycle, and it creates an addiction. It literally creates an addiction. That's the same thing that happens when you have an addiction. There's a surge of dopamine, and then when you're not using, you know, there's a less dopamine. There's a surge of dopamine. So they are literally creating an addiction. And that is one reason why, you know, people ask all the time, why do you stay? That's one reason why people stay, because they're literally addicted to that person. So where they were charming and flattering at first, and they disappeared, they come back, and they end up kind of shifting. They end up kind of changing. And the mask, the narcissist mask, tends to slip. And it's really interesting because you can catch them if you spend time with them, say at your house or at their house. You can catch them kind of practicing facial expressions. So they'll be practicing, what does surprise look like? What does happy look like? Because they do not have that range of emotions. So narcissists have a very limited range of emotions. They can feel fear. I mean, they can feel anger, probably fear too. They can feel anger. They can feel fury, probably fear. They can, you know, they feel the more aggressive and negative emotions. However, they cannot feel joy. They cannot feel happiness. They cannot feel love. They cannot feel empathy. So they have a very limited range of emotions. And that's also one reason why they are so cruel, because they are kind of jealous in a way of people who have a full range of emotions, because they don't have it. So that's why they enjoy treating people poorly, because again, they don't have that range of emotions. So they'll go out and find somebody who does and try to bring that person down to their level. When you date a narcissist, it's kind of a cycle, or not kind of, there's a cycle. So it starts with that flattering, and then you go to being taken off the pedestal. And then after that, you go through, you know, it's like they leave, and then they may argue with you. They may find a way to leave. And then after that, once, you know, you think the relationship is over, or, you know, you're upset or whatever, then they do something called the Hoover, and it's named the Hoover after Hoover vacuum. So they will do whatever it takes to suck you back into the abusive relationship. Even if after they called you names, after they said, I don't want to be with you, after they abuse you, they find a way to suck you back into the relationship. And they are literally willing to do anything. This is how it works. Like, they'll try one thing, and if that doesn't work, they'll try something else. If that doesn't work, they'll try something else. So they will just keep going down the list until you finally respond, until they finally get what it is that they want. I remember this one sociopath that I was dating. We told him not to call the house phone, and he, to hoover me back into the situation, was calling my phone, my cell phone, and the house phone at the same time, over and over and over and over and over again. He would also reach out to my friends. You know, my friends would check on me. Oh, what's going on? You know, he contacted me, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to talk to him. You know, so he would go through different ways. And I remember there was one time when he called me and was just going off and calling me all kinds of names and saying that he was going to have people come to my house and jump me. He's just saying all this, you know, crazy stuff. And because I didn't respond, the next message was, oh, I love you and I want to be with you and please call me back, and, you know, so on and so forth. And when I didn't respond, the next message was, I hate you, blah, 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 blah. So it's just interesting because they'll try whatever they can. And this person, even, he would just show up at my house. They're not good with boundaries, you know. And I noticed that they do that. They'll just show up at your house without even letting you know, without even telling you, which is kind of a breach of boundaries. You know, if you're going to come over, let me know. Don't just show up at my house. I remember one day I woke up and this person had broken into my apartment and was standing over my bed as I was sleeping. Like, that's some creepy stuff. Also, this person was trying to monopolize my time. He wanted me to talk to him all day long. And when I didn't want to talk, he's just like, oh, that's messed up, or, oh, who are you cheating with? And that's what they do a lot. They will accuse you of cheating, for no reason. And like in my situation, this guy knew that there was no cheating going on. He knew that. But he still accused me of it all the time. And he would use that as an excuse to argue with me, to fight with me, to abuse. So I find that very interesting as well. And that's something that happens often. It's interesting because I watch a lot of talk shows, right? And I like to watch them so I can kind of study human behavior. And as I watch these talk shows, I notice that a lot of women do date narcissists, but really there's about 20% of the population, a little less, but actually no, not a little less, because narcissism tends to go unreported or underreported. So it's about 20%, right? So a lot of women are in these situations, and of course they're always like, oh, I love him, I want to be with him, this is the love of my life. And this man will be calling them names, be degrading them on the show, would be disrespecting them on the show, will be cheating on them, and not care, and just very rude, and, just kind of the worst kind of way that you can treat a woman, abusive, just not a good person. And the woman will still stay. And that is because, I've been in that situation where people are like, why did you stay? And it's like, there's a trauma bond going on there. It's like, I couldn't go because every time I did, he would break into my apartment, or he would, follow me. He stalked me at one point. He stalked me when I left. It was really creepy. It was really, really creepy. I had changed my hair right after we broke up. They say when a woman goes through something traumatic, she will often change her hair. So I changed my hair, and he ended up sending, let's see, did he have my phone? I changed my number, but I don't know. He ended up contacting me some way saying, oh, your hair looks nice. And I'm just like, what? Like, what? Why? How? So this person ended up stalking me for a while. I had to get a restraining order. I literally had to get a restraining order because I did not feel safe. So another sign of a narcissist is when their mask slips, their face looks different, because they practice facial expressions and they try to learn your facial expressions so they can mirror back to you different expressions, because they don't have the ability to feel happiness. They'll be in the mirror like, what does happy look like? So they practice it. And what I found was, if they think that nobody's paying attention, then they'll just have their regular face. And then once something happens, like once you look at them, or once they are expected to show a normal behavior or a normal facial expression or normal emotion, then all of a sudden they'll do it. I remember once with the sociopath, I think I had gotten him a gift or something. I don't remember what happened, but he ended up coming over unannounced. And when I gave that to him, I noticed there was a pause, and he's like, thank you. It's like, that was weird. It kind of caught my attention. And that was because, he didn't have the ability to feel that emotion. So he's like, what does it look like? And he's like, oh God. So in their mind, they're like, what does happy look like? Okay, happy. Okay, so that's something very interesting. And when they get mad, their eyes will literally turn black, because that's their normal face. In public and around people, they have a totally different face on. But when they are in their natural element, they have a totally different facial expression, and their face literally, it looks different. Another thing that they do, of course, is they lie, they manipulate, they will tell you stories. That's another thing that they do. They tell you all these stories that are meant to flatter you, that are meant to put them in a light, a good light, that are, they want to surprise you. They want to blow themselves up so they seem like they're more important than they are. And that one sociopath that I dated, I remember we were driving down the 405 freeway. We were driving down the 405 freeway in Los Angeles, and he points to the side of the freeway. He's like, oh, I did that. I worked on that. And it's like, how did you work on that? Like, that makes no sense. They would try to take credit for things that they didn't do. They exaggerate a lot of the time. Again, they will lie. They will manipulate. They try to triangulate. That's one thing that they do. They are very good at triangulation. So triangulation is when they turn people against each other. So this guy tried to turn my mom against me by the things that he was saying. And he would say, you know, I have a lot of problems. And he would say all these crazy things. He would tell my mom straight up lies because he wanted my mom to, you know, he wanted us to fight, or he wanted us to get into a difficult situation so he can come in and, you know, rescue me, or so he can come in and exert his power even more. So they try to triangulate. They will also negatively, again, compare you to their exes. And what happens is when they are trying to flatter you, they will talk about how you're so much better than their ex, or you're better because you do this, or, you know, they like you better because of X, Y, and Z. But when you're in that stage where they are being abusive, then they will say, you know, oh, you're, you know, this person's better than you because whatever, and this person's better than you because, you know, so they will switch it, right? And there's so many interesting things that they do. Like, they wear different faces. When they're out in public and when they're around people, they have such a nice demeanor. They seem so kind. They seem so charming and charismatic. But behind closed doors, they're liars and manipulators and cheaters, and, you know, they're bad people. Really, they're abusive. You know, they're not good people. They like to seek and destroy. They're predators. They're literally predators. So I also did a video about my story when it comes to dating a narcissist. And if you have a child, if you know someone who has a child, if you have a child in your family, I highly recommend you watch that video. That video is a cautionary tale, and it is very, very important for you to watch that video. And I'm also going to be doing a video as to how to stop attracting narcissists, how to not be narcissist bait. So that's another very important video for you to watch. So this is what I have for you regarding narcissists. I hope you guys were able to follow. I know I bounced around a little bit, but this is just my experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs up and like this video if you enjoyed it, if you found it useful, if you found it helpful. Comment, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. Thank you so much. I look very forward to seeing you here again soon. Bye for now.